going on, guys? Josh here from Polymathics, the YouTube channel that helps you become a modern day Renaissance man. And in this video we're going to talk about the achievement of the boon as it relates to the hero's journey, specifically to the hero's character arc and their enlightenment. Now, if you've been following my other videos, you'll know that one, there's a whole other video, or maybe a couple out there, that talk about the boon specifically, so I'm not going to discuss that. Essentially, in my most recent videos, what we're discussing is what are the enlightenment stages that the hero goes through in the hero's journey that helps them switch their character arc and begin to come to grips with the truth and start to deny the lie that they've believed in for so long that's prevented them from reaching their full potential. Just to recap, in the stages, so in old mythology you may have seen one or two, sometimes all, but normally one or two of these stages in any given fairy tale or mythological story. However, in modern myth and in episodic myth, old episodic myth, you see these kind of teamed together a lot more often. And these four stages are meeting with the goddess, atonement with the father, achievement of the boon, and apotheosis. So right now, what we're going to discuss is the achievement of the boon stage. Normally this happens, and keep in mind, guys, if the stages, if a story only has a few stages, then they'll be separate. If not, sometimes these mash together, sometimes they intertwine, sometimes it's hard to tell where one stops and another begins. But they all normally happen right before or around the midpoint to right after the midpoint. But so the midpoint, the crisis phase, is really where it happens. The goddess stage is, they're learning and they're going towards the innermost cave to face the monster or the dragon. And then after that, there's going to be... So sometimes there will either be the achievement of boon stage, which is what we're talking about now, or the atonement with father. I personally think that there's a blending, and that's why in the modern day Monomyth, I'm trying to write it in such a way where you can differentiate how that works. But a lot of times when the hero sees the goddess, she sends him on this mission, this impossible mission, that's going to ultimately bring him to his innermost demon. That demon might be represented by a monster or a dragon or whatever. But that demon, that creature, that shadow being, whatever, normally is the guardian of the boon. And when I say guardian, I mean threshold guardian. It's not necessarily protecting the boon. Sometimes it's keeping the boon hostage or holding it all to itself. Smaug is a good example with the Arkenstone and the treasure that lies within the cave or the mountain. Darth Vader is a good example because he's holding Princess Leia, which ultimately she kind of represents the Death Star plans in a lot of ways. But essentially, once the hero defeats the dragon, he's going to have access to the boon. However, and this is where there's a little nuance here, if the hero goes directly into the atonement with father stage with the positive animus, then while he may have the boon in his hands or whatever, or in his pockets, he may not use it yet. He may not have unleashed the power of it yet. He may not have full access to it yet. He just has possession of it. However, in the achievement of the boon stage, or possession of the boon, whatever you want to call it, this is where the hero has access to the power of the boon. Not just the boon itself, but the power that resides within the boon. And this power should thematically represent, as much as possible if you can, it should be a symbol that represents your theme. And I like to think of it as this rope that the hero and the antagonist play tug of war with throughout the whole story. They're playing tug of war with this thematic rope, and at the middle of that rope is the boon, and each one of them is trying to get it to be on their side. And the reason for that is, so if a lot of stories seem to be one-sided, and many times it's because the theme was either not thought out well, or the villain wasn't giving a convincing enough argument. The most powerful villains that we see in fiction always have a thematic argument, and many times their argument is as valid or almost as valid as the hero's. The real issue isn't with the validity of the argument as much as it is with how the villain or the antagonist goes about doing whatever it is they do for their beliefs. A really good example of this tug of war is in Captain America Civil War, because while there is an antagonist, the real battle and conflict is between Captain America and his friends, but particularly Iron Man. And Iron Man sort of represents the shadow figure in this story, and it's very interesting because they both are Avengers. They're both heroes. They both saved the world. There's a fine line. It's like two heads on a quarter, you know. There's two different sides to the quarter. And what Iron Man believes, many people believe, and it's not necessarily wrong. And the same thing goes with Captain America. And then you also see other people, other characters that kind of broaden the spectrum. Each of the other heroes and some of the supporting characters have their own opinions about these accords that they have to sign, and they're all very valid opinions. And that's why I think that movie struck such a chord with audiences, is because everybody feels that way, like in the world, like, you know, there is no one right answer, and it's a really difficult decision between how you balance that out, you know. But going back to the boon, it should, when the hero taps into that power, the power should be, the positive power should be representative of the truth that the hero needs to learn in order to reach their full potential. And the negative power of that boon should be what the antagonist is trying to use to unleash onto society. So if we look at Star Wars, you have the Death Star plans. If Luke gets the Death Star plans to the rebellion, then they can destroy the Death Star and restore some balance to the galaxy and restore some freedom to the galaxy. So in that sense, the positive animus is freedom from this systematic government. In the negative sense, if you look at it, the Boon represents, if Vader and Tarkin win, it represents this tyrannical government gaining control to basically destroy freedom over common people. And so there you see the Boon is this thematic device that allows the hero to explore. Well, the hero doesn't explore, but like he's given a glimpse of the truth through that, right? Like Luke knows, like, hey, the Death Star can destroy planets. If the Empire has this, what's to stop them from basically just controlling everybody? And vice versa. So the in in the Hobbit, the Boon is the Arkenstone, and Bilbo sees what the Arkenstone does to Thorin. It's the dwarf hasn't even taken possession of the Boon, and he already is being driven mad by this thing, and he starts to act sort of uncharacteristically. So there's this negative animus. While the Arkenstone may have power and represent kinglyhood and all this other stuff, the power that it represents can consume. And then later on we find in that story that sacrifice that Thorin makes is really what makes him the hero after all. But so in this stage of enlightenment, the hero will come in contact with the Boon, and more than just contact, he'll have more than just possession. He'll be able to tap into that power a little bit. And the question is, you know, if it's the hero, is he tapping into the power of the truth, so to speak? Or if it's the villain, is the hero trying to prevent the villain from tapping into the power of the lie? And there it is. That's the achievement of the Boon. And I hope this has been helpful. And as I leave here, if you've been watching these, you probably have seen, I recently published a steampunk book called Steampunk Wars, Beyond the Rim. I'm very excited about it, very proud of it. And it's actually on promotion right now for free until the 8th of May, but I'll probably run another free promotion on it soon. Either way, it's only 99 cents. So if you're into action adventure, if you like, I mean, of course there's going to be hero's journey and you know, monomythic elements in the story, then go ahead and check it out. I'll leave a link down below. I think it's really good. It's a fairly quick read. You could read it in a day. It's about 100+ pages, so not quite a novel. It's a novella. Pretty easy to read. It's got airships, dirigibles, you know, airship crew, female protagonist, monsters, manta whales, wraith raptors, all kinds of cool things. So if you're into that kind of thing, check it out. But until next time, you guys take it easy.